Okay, well, first I want to start off discussing the woman's part. What's the woman's responsibility in the relationship? Because I know y'all have the men's what men are supposed to do. I know y'all have that down pat. But what are women supposed to do?
I guess we can go and establish an order when he posed questions.
That would be good because I don't want to just jump in. So
no, y'all can just jump in, like, you know, whoever has the answer.
Okay.
My first question was probably, go ahead, Tiffany.
Okay, my first question, I guess, to the question is, I a lot of times my take is always based upon marriage. So based upon, you know, I think sometimes my answers would differ or change depending upon if we're talking about a relationship, you know, a date, courtship, so to speak, or are we talking about husband and wife? So my role as a girlfriend may be a little different than it would be if I was a wife.
Well,
or
I was
what I
basically
think a
saying
wife should do
overall
would be different, or what they're, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, like basically I'm saying overall, what's your responsibility to ensure the success of your relationship? From the courting stage to the marriage stage.
I think women are nurturers. And so I think that, you know, speaking for myself, I think a woman's role and responsibility is to be a support, a guide to a degree, wisdom, sound reason. I think it's encouragement and a soft place to fall, peace in the midst of whatever the storms are. And I think it's a support and assistance. I mean, those are kind of words that I would use probably to describe a woman's role. And I think women, I mean, we produce, like we reproduce so much. I mean, like you can give us anything and we're going to turn it into something. So whatever you give, and I think I was watching, it's been a couple years now, but Miles Monroe did a whole, like, and Cee Jay right on it with the spiritual thing, because he did a whole sermon about like the role of a male and a female. And one of the things he touched on, and I wholeheartedly agree, is that a woman reproduces. So whatever you give, if you give her frustration, she's gonna reproduce that. If you give her a seed, she's gonna turn into a baby. You give her food, she's gonna make you a meal. You know, whatever you give her a house, she's gonna turn it into a home. So she's just producing whatever it is that you give her. And that's how I see our role in a relationship.
And I'll follow up with that. I mean, in addition to that, I definitely do agree. But I think that I think it can be more subjective, meaning that, you know, it's going to depend on what that man needs. You know, different men need different things. But I do believe that you have to explore that, and you have to figure out what it's going to be. So as general as I would like to think that most people think it is, it's usually very specific, especially in 2017. Now, if we were to, you know, reverse a couple years back, it might be a little bit different. But in the climate that we're in now, where, you know, women can vote, they can bring in money, they can, you know, there's a lot of things that we can do that, you know, we couldn't do before. So I think that she just needs to make sure that she's contributing and reciprocating. That's like the main thing for me, is reciprocation. And so, I mean, I guess that kind of ties into what Tiffany said. You know, if you give her one thing, you know, she'll turn it into another thing. But, you know, some men only want a trophy wife. You know, like you have some men that all they want is their woman to look good. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They want her to keep her hair done, keep her nails done, and look good for me when we step out. Like, that's all they want. You have some men that only want the woman to be, you know, have babies. You know, and so a woman has to decide if she's going to maybe, like, give up her career and be that stay-at-home mom, and what that lifestyle would look like.
Okay.
And I guess I would piggyback on both of what Tiffany and Ruby Red said. For me, I think that it's more, for me, in addition to what they're saying, because I definitely believe in the part about peace. I definitely believe that a woman has to be her mate's peace. I look at love and commitment differently. So for that relationship for me to work, I think that both parties, and especially the woman, when times are most difficult, is to be a protector of commitment. I think that once we begin to really look at how commitment works in a relationship, and I'm not saying, and I'm also saying on the negative side of commitment, because that's possible, that I think that lends itself to some realities that sometimes love does not. So in a relationship, as a woman, I feel like you're a protector of you are a protector of commitment. And that means that in the darkest, deepest hours and years of a marriage, that you think about the commitment that's there, and you really objectively weigh if you can weather the storm in a relationship. And then the other thing is the protector of commitment. And then I just feel like when you're in a relationship with a man, that you have a responsibility to keep him sexually satisfied. I just believe that. And I think that women get in a relationship and they feel like they have, quote unquote, got the man, and then they stop doing the things that they were doing to actually get him. Now, so I think those are extremely important in a relationship. Intimacy, sexual satisfaction is very important to me.
I didn't hear anybody mention cooking and cleaning and keeping my house clean. I
think that should be a dual role in responsibility.
Oh, word.
Yes. Everybody's messing up. Everybody needs to fix up and clean up. I mean, I do believe in gender roles. However, I'm a true Southern belle. So I mean, I believe that there's just certain things that a woman does and a man does. I don't want to have to. If I'm riding in the car with you, I'm not pumping no gas. I'm not, cutting no grass. I'm not taking out the trash. All of that, But and I believe that women, should cook and those type of things too. But then, like Ash said, that or Ruby, that's what everybody knows her. It depends upon that person, that man. What he wants and what his thoughts are about that. He may not he may not care if you can cook, or if you're interested in that. So, but I believe I do respect gender roles, but I think when it comes to just the upkeep of the house and the cleaning and cooking, that kind of stuff, everybody needs to be pitching in on that.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I think that could be a part of what we're saying when you say be his peace. So, I don't think a man wants to come home to a filthy home, and I don't think he should have to, especially if the man has, within that relationship says, even if you work, you're working for the things that you want. You're not working for anything that you need, because I'm going to satisfy all of your needs. So everything that I bring home into this house is to ensure that our needs are met. So I feel like, again, that goes back to being a protector of commitment. If he is committed to ensuring that all of your necessities are taken care of, I think that those are the things that a woman has to definitely be willing to do. Keep your home clean. Be his peace. Keep his meals, have meals for him. And that doesn't mean every single night, but certainly I think that a man should be treated like the king in his home, and certainly a woman should be treated like the queen. That's how it should be.
Well, that's why you're married.
He should be behaving like a king. And that was the other part. That's important. He needs to make sure he's behaving like a king. So I haven't had the luxury of dating a guy that was the king. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as from the traditional standpoint of the duties that the king does. Okay? Right. From that standpoint, I haven't had that luxury, but, that's not to say that it won't come, and that's not to say that I can't still be with a guy that maybe is not the quote-unquote king that I have envisioned, but I do feel like that a couple of things are important. See, so I love to eat, but I'm not going to lie and act like, and I told Albert when we were discussing this, I don't cook like a grandmother. Like, I'm not really trying to get in there and clean collard greens and cut up potatoes and stuff like that. Like, I don't really want to do that. I mean, I'm not against it because I did grow up in that kind of environment, like, you know, with my grandparents being from the South. I definitely can appreciate those things. I mean, Thanksgiving is just like Big Mama's house where I grew up. So I appreciate those things, but it's just not something that I love. Like, you know, like some women love getting the new recipe and going in the kitchen and making these dishes. I like to eat it, and I'll do, you know, what I can, but I'm not going to lie to a man and make him think that I'm getting ready to be Betty Crocker, because I'm not Betty Crocker. Now, I'm not going to make no BS and be like, you know, you got to eat this, or I'm not going to say I ain't cooking or things like that, but I am going to be honest and truthful in that I've been single for a while. I don't have children, and my career has been a priority, and so with that, I haven't really just had the time where I'm just going to go pick out some meat and bring it home, and that's not naturally what I want to do. But for a king, you know, I bow down and get with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think reciprocity is important, you know, because I can do it. What Cee Jay is saying in terms of, you know, being that, setting the stage and setting things out for your man and taking care of it, of things, and, you know, preparing the food and baking the pie, cake on the table, and doing it, you know, doing all of the stuff. I think we are, you know, a lot of the times raised with these womanly charms. Many of us are, at least the women that I know, we kind of raised with a lot of these womanly charms, and we decide whether or not we decide whether or not, you know, we can, if you can get it. Because
right.
To me, I feel like it still has to be reciprocated. Something has to be in exchange, you know. And I think it's easy to find when you are a woman who naturally loves on people and has that desire to do that, and that, you know, homemaker feel, or so to speak, you know, and that nurturing quality, you can kind of go sometimes overboard. And then you looking around and you carrying everything, or you look around and you know, it's expected and it's not appreciated. And that's where, to me, the line draws. I draw it, you know, where when it's an expectation, or you turn into a mother versus I'm your woman, like I'm dead. This is not. It's not. You know, it's a different relationship. So you gotta treat it that way. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I agree.
Next question.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, first of all three.
We a formation for you. You know what I'm saying? This organized.
We ready.
All right, I got you.
So we sorority girls from the HBCU. You know this is
Okay.
So y'all all three from the South, right?
Yes.
Oh, see, that's Y'all kind of, because you got the Southern values.
Yeah. What is he doing? What is he doing, Ruby? Is he pigeonholing us and making it look like we?
He's dividing women. We speak. I mean, because I'm telling them, I think what separates a lot of women when it comes to perspective. Now, don't get me wrong. It's definitely differences, you know, living in the North than it is living in the South. I mean, there's a lot of differences. To me, the city requires more skill set, because you have to be more alert, because it's so many stimuli. Like, I mean, it's so many stimuli. You have to be alert to all of that. And to me, having to do that creates different responses. Like, I never said dickhead so much until I moved to Philly. So I definitely know that the city does sometimes, you know, and I'm generalizing because I know this isn't true for everybody. But I will say that the city, like I said, it requires different skill set. But I want to make sure that he's not, you know, making it a North versus South thing, because I think it's socioeconomic status and education more so than it is regional. If I had to rank them, definitely regional is relevant. But I think if we were to get some women with the same demographics as us from Philly, from New York, from Boston, I think that, you know, some of those same things would line up and align as far as the responses to these questions. But he has
but you know what's crazy?
My man
used to tell me all the time, yo, you need to get out of Philly. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get married, go down south. And I realized the Southern women have the same BS with them like Northern women, but you're just more polite about it. Like I spent a couple of months down in Atlanta.
What does that mean?
Well, in the beginning stages, all women are full of, are full of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Really?
it's a silly game that we play in the beginning that I'm trying to. But my solution is to the problem is eliminating that silly game. It's like
I agree with that 100%. I think you should be upfront and honest. And the other thing is, I don't think that anybody should fall in love with potential. Whatever that person is right then and there is what what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So when Ruby says she does not cook, she doesn't need a man who is going to look at the potential of her becoming a good cook. He needs to accept the fact that she doesn't cook. And guess what? It doesn't make her a bad woman. It makes her a woman who doesn't cook. If you
she's a good woman. She might be a bad wife, though.
It's not degree related.
No, you gotta be.
Fine.
You can't just be a good woman. You have to be a good wife. So Ruby, if she don't want to cook, maybe she shouldn't think about marriage. Maybe you just gotta sit out.
I disagree.
Now,
But every man does want a woman that can cook, though.
I'm just saying,
Right. I disagree.
like you might have to, like in certain issues that you're not going to compromise on, then you should just sit out because you asking a man a lot to put up with if you're not going to.
No, she's asking for a man who doesn't require that. And guess what? There are men who love the kitchen, and that's their domain, and they love cooking.
But then she not going to want him because he don't have a degree, or she not going to want him because he's overweight, or it's going to be something superficial that's going to prevent them from getting married. The type of man that
Wait a minute.
She better get in that kitchen and cook it up.
Now, we all have our physical preference. Now, don't let me highlight who you like, the basketball wife or the LA hip-hop chick. That's your type.
That's not my type. That's not my type.
She's a trophy. That's your type.
My type is not necessarily a physical thing more than it is a personality thing. I like sweethearts. I have a soft spot in my heart for a sweetheart. So if you're a sweet woman,
after you get that, so you're saying somebody that, and I'm gonna just use this reference because a lot of people say that she's unattractive. I'm not saying she's unattractive, but so Precious, somebody that looks like Precious from the movie, not the actress that played Precious, and when she's at the award, but Precious. So what you're saying is if she has a sweet place in her heart, that she could get a date.
First of all, yeah, any girl could get a date. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. If for me to fall in love with a Precious type, man, she had to be she had to be a dynamite woman. Like it's just like with females. It's like you put up with more from pretty women than you would for ugly women, or quote unquote ugly. I don't think any woman is ugly, but less attractive women.
A woman that's not as attractive, right?
Well,
right.
Less my type, because my type might be considered ugly to somebody else. So I'm gonna just say, the further she is away from what I like, the better her personality better be. You know what I mean? And
I think we can most of us.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah,
because I can see that on the male side as well.
We would agree with that. Mm-hmm.
And see, the problem with females is y'all like to. I call this the driving Miss Daisy syndrome. Is where the relationship is the car, and you're trying to take the car somewhere. Like you want the relationship to go somewhere. So let's say you get in at dating and you want to drive to marriage. Well, women like to be driving Miss Daisy, and they like to tell their man, no, you're going the wrong way. Go this way. No, go that way. No, how about you come up in the front seat and tell me where this relationship is going? How about you be the director since you shouting out directions? Otherwise, just sit back and ride. You going with me. You know what I'm saying? And just be happy that, I'm letting you ride in my car.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
That's a negative. That wouldn't happen with me. I just go ahead and tell you.
That's a problem.
I am extremely.
If you happy, you riding with me.
That's right.
I mean, if you got no vision and no plan, I'm just riding with you to where? Because when you run out of gas, then what?
Then you gonna get
Now
out.
I'm walking.
You gonna get out and push, or you gonna get in. You gonna steer while I push. Either way, we doing this together. So either you like me for me, or you don't. Cause I'm not really into.
Now,
I just want to be married, so I'ma just mess with him.
That part.
All right, right. So, but if you want this relationship to go somewhere, let's say for the sake of argument, I'm not really trying to get married right now, but you are. Well, then it's up to you to make it happen. You got to do whatever you got to do. The same way when I want some sex, right? I got to, huh?
Or it's up to her to realize that, she may need to cut her losses. I don't believe I really don't believe in pulling freedom from anyone. I think you have to relinquish that and give that. So if you're a man who's not ready to be married, this is what I say to women all the time. It doesn't make him a bad man. It makes him a man who's not ready to be married. Period, point blank.
Yeah, but right now I might not be ready.
That
don't mean you got to break up.
You have to relinquish the need to have. You have to relinquish the desire not to be alone. I'm not going to force a man to have that feeling.
Oh, absolutely. Because then that just means you don't want the same thing, and that's okay.
Exactly, and that's so true, and that's why I've become much more particular about, what I want and what I'm looking for, because I realize now, the older I get, the more that I am wanting something that, somebody, I'm thinking, can I procreate with this individual? You know what I'm saying? It's not just like, he's cute or we gonna hang out or we gonna post up and all of those kind of things. So I'm really particular about what I like, and I only like what I give. So it's not like I'm out here saying you gotta look like ABC and I look like the total end of the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things I value about a parent, and I just want the guy to value that. Now, like, I do agree with what the point that was made earlier in regards to, you need to get with a person because of who they are and what they contribute. And that's why, like I said, I need what I need, because when the storm does come, if I'm with a guy that I believe is ambitious and that I believe is, an alpha male and he's about me, then regardless of if it's a storm or the sunshine or the beach or whatever, I know what to expect from him. I know how he's going to handle these situations, and so it makes, the situation doable. But if I'm with somebody that I feel like I'm already kind of sacrificing, like you even said to your point, Albert, you was like, if you date Precious, it's certain things that she just has to do if you can get serious with her. And imagine if she stopped doing those things, but she your woman now, and you know what I'm saying, y'all going through the storm, you're going to really be looking at her side-eyed and huffing and puffing and probably ready to cheat, because it's like, look, I already, compromised my selfish, quote-unquote, superficial desires to have a bad chick to get with you. And now you out here doing ABC? And I have to realize that people are human. And so with people being human, they're going to make mistakes. So I need to be with that dude that, despite his mistakes, I'm like, that's still my man. And I've had that kind of chemistry with an individual before, where they do something that's kind of like, it's a foul ball. But it's like, that's my MVP. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But it's like, if you already can't, really get out here and play, you missing practice because you got these kids from your other relationship, you ain't even in the game like that, and now you still making mistakes or striking out, you don't have that much leverage. Or you grade go somewhere, right? Because it's not, this team is no longer conducive to what we trying to do.
I think what Cee Jay said earlier, and Ashley has always said this to me, is about the not dating or for potential.
That's right.
It's so important, and I have had to learn that, because I think sometimes your heart can be in a place for a person to work with them and to, help them. And because that's what we do. Black sisters, I mean, really, I think I saw on a Scandal episode, Mama Pope said it best when she talked about what the role black women a lot of times play. And, in terms of helping black men and helping and wanting to help him, wanting to save him, wanting to just, and I don't know where that comes from. I don't know, but I think that sometimes that dating for potential sometimes comes through that wanting to save, wanting to help. Because most of the time they're trying to get somewhere that they not. They have an aspiration or something they working out or figuring out trying to, I'm working, I'm seeing how this shake down. I'm working on this and, I want to do that. And so you're supporting goals and ambitions and stuff that they have yet to attain. And you feel as though once they accomplish that, if you stick with them, they're going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. But my sister will always say, Ash will always say, what if that don't ever happen? Can you be okay with what it is right now? Like, if that never happened, is he enough? Is that enough if it never happens? And I think that's so important for women to ask that question.
Let me ask y'all a question. What is a good man in your opinions? Like, what should a man have coming in? Yeah, go ahead.
A good man in my commitment just simply, easily put, that he definitely is not just a physical protector in terms of, again, ensuring that he has the needs met of his mate, but he's an emotional protector as well. So that I don't have to ever feel jealous, because he's never going to put me in a situation for me to have to experience those emotions, because he's a protector of my heart. He's not only a protector of my heart, he's a protector of my head. So the thoughts that I have about our relationship are based on his actions, which are so intentional. They are intentional and they're conscious. And, I go right back to the idea of love. The only way that we can love is imperfectly, because we're imperfect. So the best you're going to ever have is an imperfect love. So there are going to be mistakes made on both parties. But when you think about a man who understands that you come first, and that your needs must be first, and that your needs are more important than his own needs, then you have a good man.
Well, that never works out. I'm speaking from experience. Women don't appreciate that. And if you are getting that...
Well, it has worked out for me. It has worked out for me. And I will tell you what, 23 years, you have some good years, you have some bad years, you have some beautiful years, you have some years you want to go away, you have some years you want to come back. The main reason that I have not left this marriage that has been very difficult at times, extremely difficult at times.
What made it difficult?
Is because of a man who has done exactly that, who has put his family first. And that has meant a great deal to me.
Okay. What made it difficult? What were the difficult times? If you don't mind.
Like infidelity.
On
And
whose
some
part?
women, and I think a lot different than I would say most women with that area. Now,
Me too.
I am more focused on, and this is probably going to be very controversial. I'm very much focused on being also economically protected. So if I have a child, I have one child. So when I think about an issue of infidelity, I weigh that with the issue of me having to be in a different tax bracket, me having to figure out how I want my son to navigate through life, maybe as a single mom, and maybe some of those disadvantages. Now, and everybody has to weigh that for themselves. Now, when I weigh it for myself, my idea was to do this, to stay and ensure, number one, that my son was raised in a two-parent home. Number two, that we did not have to experience many of the financial burdens that certainly are placed on single parents, whether they're female or male. Those are not things that I wanted to experience. So then I've had to make sacrifices in some other places. And I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes if we're able to make a logical choice versus an in-the-moment emotional choice, things turn out a little bit different than you would have ever imagined. So when you're in the storm of infidelity for the first month, for the first 2 months, for the first 3 months, it may look a certain way. And by the time you're in year 3, you're not even, well, for me, it's not a thought. And that's probably controversial for a lot of women. But for me, my number one thing was to ensure that my son grew up in a 2-parent home and that he was protected financially and that I was protected financially. And you can't have that if you keep trying to start over and over. And my other thing is what you do. You get divorced, you fall in love with someone else. Who's to say that their infidelity won't be an issue again?
Exactly. So, and let me add, though, let me add to you, though, Cee Jay, because just for clarity for individuals, is that you always have contributed financially. So it's not like, you were that you don't contribute. Right. I want to make sure that the financial stability, people don't look at it as maybe you was working at Foot Locker and then you moved into this mansion that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford without this man. It just means, like you said,
I'm degreed up. I have 2 masters.
Okay,
I'm degreed up. I have 2 masters. I have 2 masters. And I have put them to good use. I have a great income, but again, I choose to be in a relationship in which, with that income, it is disposable income, and it's income that I can use to do what it is that I want to do with it, as opposed to having to do something specific with it. And I'll just be quite honest. I've not had to do that. In 23 years, I've not had to do that. In 23 years, my husband has never asked me once, how much do you make? Ever.
Well, you know what it seems like to me? It seems like as long as you make money, you could do whatever you want to do. You could cheat and y'all cool with it. And it's like, all right, I don't make mistakes in my relationship. Nah, I'm not perfect, but I don't make mistakes. And that's never been rewarded with loyalty. Okay?
That's an oxymoron. Can you elaborate on that?
It is. Like, because so it's not, but being cool with it and weighing your decision is 2 different things.
Sure is.
So sure is. Press it fast.
When we look at statistics about 2 things, just to highlight Cee Jay's point, and like I said, this is coming from, a marital counselor standpoint, a clinical, research standpoint, is that, and especially when you take those vows, Albert, you're one to kind of throw those vows in when it comes to finances and richer or poor. So, I'm just, hoping that you aren't backsliding when we look at other behaviors that are relevant in marriage, such as infidelity.
First of all, let me point out.
Wait a minute, let me finish.
All right, go ahead.
It's quick to kind of, for everybody to kind of minimize the whole financial piece and reduce that, that's not something we should worry about. But then it's like, when it comes to, infidelity, it's like, that's non-negotiable. That's, this is this and that is that. Everybody has to choose. And again, it becomes subjective because you have different reasons that people marry. Even when we look at probably religious context, it's different ways that it happens depending on what religion that you decide you're going to subscribe to. Now, I, too, tend to have a more traditional standpoint in that I feel like if I get married or if I'm with a guy that, infidelity won't break us. But like Cee Jay says, weighing out your options doesn't necessarily mean that you're cool with it. You're never cool with your kid getting suspended or getting poor grades.
Right.
However, you accept it. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? So you accept it and you problem solve with it. Because what we know about human behavior is that once you get married, that doesn't mean that, you're not going to do A, B, C. You know what I'm saying? Because if that was the case, we'd all be in shape. Because when we realized that we gained weight from eating these Snickers, we wouldn't eat them anymore. And the sex drive is just as thirsty and hungry as the hunger drive at times. Now, I'm not saying that anybody should do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like with the Kevin Hart scandal, you had people that said, I would leave, people that said I would stay. But I just want to, remind us all that when people do make their decisions about what they value and what they're willing to excuse, we shouldn't minimize it just because it's not something that we would do.
And I agree with that. And I feel like that is exactly, because we've had this conversation over the years, so many times, and I wholeheartedly agree. It's about what you, as an individual, can deal with. What's your non-negotiable? I'm not dealing with it. Everybody's non-negotiables are different. Now I will say this. Though. You never know how you'll respond until you're in a particular situation. So I never judge somebody else's response, because if given that same bill, card, the same card, it might not be as easy for me to make this decision that I, from this vantage point, think I would make. But, from the rip, that to me, like infidelity, you stepping out on me is like the ultimate violation. It's like the mafia. It's like you are excommunicated. Like I have nothing that I can come back from that, but see, that's because of how I view sex. That's because of how I view, or what I take those type of relationships and those type of interactions to mean. And so when everybody, when depending upon, how you view it, may change how you respond to the outcomes of somebody, chooses to step out and do that. So, but for me, that's one of those things. It's not like, that's a non-negotiable. And even if on the back end I would decide after, you throw yourself on the mercy of the court, if I decide that I would take you back for whatever reason, whether I'm considering my children, and I think, and when you bring children into the equation, that's a whole nother conversation. So I had no idea how I would respond. But, when I would weigh out all the options of what I should do, I think that, I never know in the moment how you will respond. But I like to say now that would not be, and I definitely would not want him to feel like you possibly would get a pass from me on
right.
That. Like, I need you to know that
right.
It is no coming back from it. Now, if that we did happen to resolve, that would be, you gonna feel like you got some grace.
Right.
You gonna feel.
And again, you have to weigh it. It has to be based on the individual. So, I'm married to a man. I'm married to a man who doesn't drink. I'm married to a man who doesn't smoke. I'm married to a man who doesn't, who by and large, is
right.
He's a decent person. He's a decent person who, what I tell my son is, he's not a demon, and I'm not an angel. So when those mistakes are made, then you both have to reflect on where you are. But I certainly believe in the idea of forgiveness. Where are you? In order for me to be forgiven for anything that I might do, I have to be willing to have that type of capacity within myself, and the ability to allow him to grow from anything like that. And, it depends on that. So another woman may say she couldn't do it, and there may be reasons why. Maybe on top of, cheating on her, maybe, he's abusive emotionally. So he's definitely, that's just one push over the edge. I just didn't have that. I had someone who made a mistake, who was a great father, a great provider, and we were able to do what we needed to do to preserve what we have.
Yeah. That's true. It's not black and white, and so I don't think it's fair when people make it, this has to be the answer or that has to be the answer. Because like you said, she just named several different situations that could change your response depending upon what it was that happened. Was it a habitual thing? Is it what were whatever the scenario is could change the outcome and what the decision is. And I wouldn't want to have to be, I wouldn't want to have to feel like I'm forced to make a particular decision. If whether I decided to stay or whether I decided to go, I would want to have the freedom in my own womanhood and to make that decision.
Well, you're talking about marriage. You talking about after. Hold on. You talking about after you're married, right? That's the decision that has to be made. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, if you're married, I would suggest hanging in there. I'm all for marriage and holding the family together. But how about before we get married? How about you find a man that has the qualities of not cheating? You know what I'm saying? And is able to hold it down, so you don't have to make those decisions instead of going for the glitz and the glamour all the time.
Well, no, but see, you don't have. It doesn't have to be either or, because you can have a man that's not glitz and glam. You can have a man that works for electric company, works for Time Warner Cable, and so there is no glitz and glam. And that man can still be the man who has never given you an indication that he would cheat, but he still could find himself in that situation as a married man 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Those things happen. They just happen. It's because, and I'll tell you why they just happen. They just happen because we're imperfect. That's why they happen.
Nah, because you making a conscious decision to get married. So with marriage comes a responsibility. So if your man ain't going to hold it down, then you definitely chose wrong. You made that mistake.
I just don't know when you say hold it down, are you talking about hold it down as a married man who never ever is capable of making that mistake? Because I think that's unrealistic. And I'm not giving men a pass on that. I'm just saying that as black women, we have to, I think, put ourselves in a position where we don't have to have society telling us that if that happens, our only recourse is to leave. What that creates for us is, honestly, and I don't care how people feel about me making the statement, it creates economic issues for black women when your only and first recourse is to leave. It creates economic issues for yourself and for your posterity. That means it creates those issues for your child.
I agree with the case by case.
Likely to have the advantages that he would have or she would have with two parents. So we don't need to have all black women pigeonholed into this idea with a group of girlfriends who are going to say, girl, leave. No, what we need to say is, girl, make the decision that's best for you to make in that time. And whatever that decision is, I'm going to support you.
I agree with that.
Exactly.
I do agree with that.
Yeah. Now, Albert, I will say, to the kind of man you described, I do tend to be attracted to and attract those guys that are peacocks, as my girlfriends would call them. I do like a peacock. I don't
like no peacock.
I think I told them that I used you as an example.
What was mine?
I used when I talked to Albert, I was like, I contrasted our preference, because he had asked me about a scenario about like what I would do as far as, if we were like attracted to the same person. I was like, well, Tiffany is probably like, the person that I would say is probably like, my best friend if in that regard. And we're like different kind of guys. Like I said, Tiffany doesn't mind the guy that's going to play the back of the room. Like if she's because Tiffany can sing. Okay, so if Tiffany is at an event and she's singing, she doesn't mind that her man is in the back, she got to find him because he's doing registration and he's smiling and making sure everybody's on. I said, when I get off stage from, doing my speech or my, address at commencement, I already need to step off the stage and know where my man at, because he where the crowd at, because he over there sucking and jiving and entertaining and laughing. And
all the women left around him grinning and teeth.
Ruby, let me ask you this. Ruby, let me ask you this. Why are you attracted to that type of dude?
I think because that's what kind of guy my grandfather was. My grandfather was very, even my girlfriend still imitate his laugh to this day. He married my grandmother when he was 18 and she was 15. But, I come from a family, first of all, we all tall. I'm 5'9". My mother's 6 foot. So it's we're already going to command attention just because of our height alone. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be like, that's a tall woman, that's a tall man. And I don't know. I've always, and I think it's because of my personality. Like naturally, I'm an only child. My father had a child later on in life, so I do have a little sister now. But I was raised an only child, and I've always kind of been more passive. I made an effort to become the vocal person that I am now, but I used to kind of be a little bit of an introvert. And I think that when I'm with those kind of guys, I just feel more comfortable, because I feel like that if I don't, I have the skill set and the confidence to take the lead, but I like it that a man is willing, when he's willing to do that. I mean, and that means in any arena. I'm a very sociable person. I've accepted that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm hopefully going to do these kind of podcasts and events and things like that. And I just want to step off stage and be like, look at so-and-so. Girl, he over there, entertaining. And with that does come a lot of attraction. Mm-hmm. And, and with that, and plus those guys are confident enough to approach me. They're confident enough to approach me. I will say, when people sometimes see who I am, and the fact that I'm very vocal, especially like with social media, I post a lot, they develop this idea of who I am. And so a passive man he's gonna need me to initiate a little bit more than that confident dude is. Like the confident dude, like I had one dude, he would tell me, I kicked in the door. You know what I'm saying? Like he did. I mean, he kicked in the door, and he made sure I wasn't behind it. But he kicked in the door, and I think that kind of that I'm attracted just to that type. I mean, that's not to say that that's who I'm gonna end up being with, because a lot of my friends have said, maybe you should reconsider. Maybe that's not necessarily the kind of guy that you need, even though that's what you're, quote unquote, attracted to. But that's just where I find myself. To that merit, I do know that those kind of men tend to juggle. And while it's not necessarily my preference, I can't act like I haven't indulged, even knowing that was kind of like what the reality potentially was going to be.
Do you have an issue with would you have an issue with being a sister wife, like in a polygamous relationship?
I'm Christian.
I think we need to bring those back.
I'm Christian. I identify as Christian. I'm not perfect, but I identify as Christian, and that's not a lifestyle that is, gonna be appropriate. Now, to be clear, when I first moved here, I did meet this Muslim guy, and like North Carolina's the Bible Belt, so moving to Philly was a culture shock, because I had never seen women, first of all, with a hijab on and covered. Like I never really saw that in a person, and then even to see the ones that only show their eyes, and I, apologize for not calling the garb the appropriate name because I'm not familiar with it. But I say all that to say that Islam and a lot of the things that I've learned now about cultural diversity in different religions, I wasn't exposed to that prior to. So I'm just now finding out that this is happening, as far as, what I'm saying, like men can have two women and it be in order of how things are supposed to go. Now, do people pervert it? Yes, I do understand that everybody's not doing it right, and I'm not here to point the finger or judge anybody, because I have my own sins that I need to, deal with. But what I will say is I don't think that would work for me unless I converted to Islam. I don't just see myself maintaining who I am now. Wait
a minute. What does religion have to do with it? I'm saying, could you be cool with being a quote unquote side piece?
Right. I have found myself in a situation where I was engaging with a guy that I knew he wasn't only committed to me. So I guess, it's not a preference, but I have engaged in a situation like that before, where I knew he was seeing multiple people. So, and I continue to engage with him as well. But that's not my preference, you know what I'm saying? I want to be clear that I'm explaining things in a way that is you know what I'm saying, this being honest, but that I'm also not just sitting up here writing my autobiography, because that's not what I want to do. But I don't mind sharing my experience, because I'm not ashamed of them as far as for this discussion platform, but it's not necessarily something that I'm proud of either, and I don't want it to look as if I'm promoting it. But I will say that I've been in a situation in which I found myself dating an individual that I knew was dating other people as well. And, you know what I'm saying, it was just kind of like, okay, this is what it is, but like it's not a preference. So it's not something I sign up for. Like, it's not that I'm like going out, hey, are you dealing with multiple people right now? Because I want to sign up for that. It's usually found out on the back end. It's usually not introduced in the beginning in the situations, as far as like, hey, this is what I got going. Do you still want to get to know me? It's like, let's get to know each other. Oh, I'm also doing these other things.
What? I'm glad you brought that up, because that's part of the reason why we have so much infidelity and cheating is because women force men to cheat with these stupid games. Like, in other words, Patrice O'Neal had a great analogy, the late great Patrice O'Neal, the comedian. He says women have like their vagina, like, right, carrying it, and they have a gun to the vagina, and then if you say the wrong things, boom, they're going to shoot it, and then you'll never get it. So it's like if you come at a woman and say, yeah, I'm not really looking for a relationship right now, but I still would like to have sex with you. No, that's, well, boom, she's going to kill the vagina. You ain't never going to get any. So then you have to come at her, you know, kind of like with some game and say, yeah, I want the same things you want, baby.
Terrible.
Huh?
That's terrible.
But no, that's a reality though. That's
on.
what's happening, and it's happening because men find themselves having to lie to women, and we can't keep it 100. Now, what I've been trying to do with this podcast is bring it to light that what women are doing is wrong, and we should fix it. We should attempt to fix it.
You said what women are doing is wrong?
What women are doing is wrong.
Y'all know how Albert is.
Yeah, listen,
Y'all know how
hold on, hear me out. What y'all doing is wrong because
when you approach a woman and you tell her, you know, I'm not looking for anything serious. I just want to have sex, and you give an indication that she's going to be the type of woman who wants more. You don't fuck her. Period. Point blank.
Exactly. It's simple.
You find somebody else who's fuckable, who doesn't care about the fact that you want them and whomever else you want. It's simple as that. And there are plenty of women, believe me.
Exactly.
That's
plenty
really
of women who will indulge you.
nah, because women don't want to.
That's selfish. That's selfish. That means you want what you want at all costs, and you don't care whether or not she told you she was interested in a relationship or dating or finding somebody special. You want her. So how is that our fault? I don't understand that.
I might not necessarily want a relationship right now.
You become a manipulator and then get upset when she follows, like Tiffany said. They produce what you give. So you want to be a manipulator by lying and having game, and then when she decides that she's caught you in that seat, that she's going to shut her coochie off to you, then you're saying it's the woman's fault, when really it's your fault for being a manipulator in the first place.
Hold on. Let me clarify. I'm not saying that I do this, okay? I'm just saying this is what's...
I'm not saying you do.
All right,
I'm saying...
All right, so I want to make it clear that this is what's going on in our community. Like, women are finding themselves in a relationship, well, men are finding themselves in a relationship they didn't necessarily want to be in because they're being nice.
Well, they should have...
Well...
But that's a problem. That's a man.
That is
problem.
A problem.
And
I just think that we all need to be open and honest. And
we do.
But
I agree.
But your
and let me take that back. I won't say it's a man. I won't say it's a soul, because it's not really solely any gender's problem. It's a collective problem between both. Because if men were honest about what they're looking for and straight up from the beginning about what they're wanting or what they're not wanting, and women were honest about what they're looking for, and if you want a relationship and you looking and believing, God for your husband, or you out here just having fun, like, hey, I ain't trying to be tied down, I'm trying to enjoy life and just date and just, enjoy, then that's fine. I mean, I feel like once you get to a certain age, you should be comfortable being who you are.
That's easier said than done, because when you are a man and you are honest, unless you got money, it's like for us regular nice guys, it's like it's hard because I don't know what y'all women are looking for. I've heard women want to be treated a certain way, want to be wined and dined and all of that. You try that doesn't work. So I don't know. Me personally, I don't know what's going on.
There's a category of women. There's a category of women for everything you need and for everything you're looking for. There's a category of women that's ready to be your wifey and hook you up and take care of your babiys and raise your kids and keep your house and build hot. There's a category of women that's ready to just be down for whatever you ready for and don't want no strings attached. There's a category that's going to put out what you putting out. There's a category that want to be wined and dined, and you got to have some money to touch them. I mean, it's a category for everything.
And it's a category that might want to take care of you. So there are all types of categories. We're not monolithic. So
but y'all are though.
Exactly. One monolithic group.
But y'all are though. And that's
there's no need to lie.
It's not. Like you all are the same.
And if men would treat us as such, most of the issues that we have, we wouldn't have, just like as women, if we treat you as such. That every man comes individually to the table and offers what he has as an individual man. And that I don't base how I'm going to treat you on the last man who didn't do what he was supposed to do for me. That's baggage.
And most women have baggage. So it's like my man
said. You said most who have baggage, most women, or you said most people?
Most women have baggage.
Okay, what's baggage? Let's operationally define that. See, a lot of times on these
men that got some too.
We say the same, we believe the same thing, but it's just kind of discussed different. Like that's one of the main things that's like a concern amongst men and women. I mean, and I learned this like in all the couple sessions that I've worked with, whether it's they wanted to learn how to be swingers or learn how to pray more or whatever, they thought they was coming because somebody cheated or they thought they was coming because of this and that. It all boils down to communication and communication styles. Like, a woman could sincerely verbalize how she feels about a situation and her man can interpret that as nagging because of the way she's, doing it. So a lot of this stuff, you know what I'm saying, is it gets confusing because of communication. Now, I think that the ladies presented a great point, Albert, is that whenever you group everybody together by one factor, two, gender and race, it becomes a little watered down. And it becomes watered down because it's certain people that's going to be applicable to and it's certain people that's not going to be applicable to. And so I think it's fair to say other variables when you describe the type of woman you're describing. Like I said, you'll get very different perspectives. Like socioeconomic status is very relevant. And you kind of highlighted that when you say like men with money tend to be able to do any and everything, but then it's levels to money. Because if a female works at, let's say she works at Walmart and she's a cashier, Mike that worked as the electrician at PwC or whatever the Pico, he may be a man that has money to her. So that and if that's the kind of perception he wants his woman to have, then he may need to quote unquote date down. But a woman who brings more to the table, that might not be the guy that has the money that's going to spoil her and do all these things for her. So I think that we do a great disservice when we just group and say black women or black men to this specific conversation that we're having regarding relationships because so many things are relevant. Now, I do agree. If you want something from an individual, if you can't communicate that to them and still get what you want, you need to move on. I think you quick to point the finger at women, but let's give the men some accountability who are supposed to be the leaders. Okay, so you mean to tell me with all this, and excuse myself, with all this pussy, coochie, whatever out here, that you have to lie to this specific girl to score when there's somebody down the street that all you got to do is take her some chicken nuggets and she will put her legs behind her ears.
But that might
so
not
why
be,
waste your time on that one?
That might not be the one you like, though. See, in other words, I like girl A, right? My girl A want me to do too much. All right, I like the way she looks, right? Girl B is a nice girl, okay? And girl C is a freak, okay? They not gonna individually. They're not going to satisfy me, but together, I'm happy, okay? Because girl A, although she looks good, she a lame in bed and she ain't trying to learn nothing new. It's all about me pleasing her. You know what I'm saying?
So your desires are fine as long as you tell me, girl B, that you like all them other things and you trying to be with A and C. Then I can make my decision. Give me the opportunity to make my decision and say, no, I'm not up for nobody. I don't share stuff.
Nah, but then I lose at the end of the day. Then I lose.
Well, then you just cut your losses. Cut them
Nah.
off.
You cut them off. That's where integrity comes in. Nobody, the men, I'm not going to say, because I don't like to generalize. I don't like people generalizing for me. So some men that have the same opinion do not want to lose. You don't want to, you want to be selfish. Like, that's terrible in my mind when you're not willing to be transparent about what you're looking for. But because of this is what you want, you gonna sneak and tip and you gonna get what you want by any means necessary, regardless of what it does to somebody else. That's unethical to me. And it's not unethical,
and it also means
It is unethical, but it is what it is. I mean, this is a reality.
unethical, and it also means that you don't stand in your truth. And I definitely can't be with a man who does not stand in his own truth. That means that to me, it's almost being a coward. And I definitely can't be with a man who is a coward. And those, and those are the greater implications for a man who cannot be honest about his needs and cannot accept from the woman that maybe he wants that's not what she's willing to do.
Exactly.
So it shouldn't be this idea of having to manipulate.
Everybody should have the right to choose.
Hold on.
Choose.
This is what everybody does, and don't act like women don't do it. Everybody in the black community is on some type of game or some type of scamming.
Not everybody. Not everybody.
No, you're right.
No,
Not
I don't
everybody,
agree.
but more people do it than not. So that's why I'm addressing it. And somehow we find ourselves in these relationships where the men and women are arguing. Like, yo, just a few minutes before the podcast started, my next door neighbors, I don't know if they was rumbling or whatever, but they always arguing. And it's like, what's going on? My parents always arguing. So what's going on in our community where the black men and the black women just can't get together? And I think it's
because of what you just
we don't
said.
hold on, let me finish. It's because we don't get a opportunity to explore and find out who is really compatible for us. And I blame personally, I blame that on women. I blame that on women because you force men into relationships.
I blame that.
That is so unfair. Like
that's the truth, though. Y'all force men.
The reason they're arguing is because people are not being transparent from the beginning. That's what we're saying. I think the arguments come when people are beguiled into something that they didn't know that they was really signing up for.
Yeah, but y'all know.
That's one of the
See, that's the thing too. Y'all want to be victims at the end of the day, but y'all know who y'all messing with. Come on, let's everybody see. That's the thing. Women especially, everybody has to start being honest about what this really is.
You just said you're not trying to be honest because you want what you want.
No, you're not.
I'm telling you what's going on. I'm telling you what's going on. I'm not saying I condone it or anything.
Yeah, but you want to be. But you're excused. But are you condoning it or excusing it? Or are you just saying it happened?
No, I'm just telling you. I'm just a news reporter reporting the news. This is how it's going down, and we have to fix that because. Eventually, see what I'm seeing in the black communities. This is how I'm tying this all together. What I'm seeing in the black community is we having babies out of wedlock, and that brings stress and strife to the community because there's no love in the home.
It does.
Okay, and there's no love on the block, and there's no love in the neighborhood, and there's no love in the community. So we just a race of people who just walk around mean and bitter, and that comes from our love life. It stems from our love life, essentially. Like,
can you speak to that? The choices that we make. It stems from the choices that we make.
Nah, not really. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I'm a good dude. I don't make mistakes. How come
you have a daughter but you're not married?
See,
everybody makes mistakes, Albert. Everybody.
Exactly.
Not relationship. I'm talking about relationship mistakes. I'm talking about I don't give a woman real cause to break up with me other than she just thinks that God is a little bit more handsome or he got a little bit more going on over there. So I'm going to go over there and see what's popping. You know what I mean?
Or maybe I'm not going anywhere. Maybe I'm just working on me right now and the relationship could be a distraction because of something I'm going through.
But they don't communicate that with me. So I don't know. All I'm saying is I don't give any woman cause to break up. I'm a good dude.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what I see,
So you think
what
though?
I
So
see
you
though.
think though? You
No, I am.
those
I
men
did.
where the girls be thinking they got all this good stuff, and they really don't. I mean, like, let's talk about your flaws though. You highlighting your good characteristics.
Okay.
Can you name one flaw that Albert might have in a relationship that might turn a woman off, or you can't? Because that in itself, if you telling me on this podcast the solution, and you're the manager,
Right.
this is your. If you're telling me that you can't think of one reason other than a woman finding another man attractive as a reason, I told you something yesterday that you just must have discounted and said F it.
Yeah, refresh my memory, Ruby.
So I just kind of mentioned that sometimes the way you communicate, it could be a little offensive. I don't know if I've probably said this on the podcast before, but to Cee Jay and Tiff, I met Albert on a post that a mutual Facebook friend had, where Albert told me that black women were under a spell. So essentially, and I'm reading that, but
Oh my goodness!
But because of my openness, probably one, because of the field that I'm in, and two, just because of where I am evolving in life. When he said that, it just made me, instead of making me think that necessarily, yes, he's talking about me, which he obviously is because I am a black woman. I'm like, this is shaped off his experiences. And, we come from two totally different backgrounds. And so, it's a couple commonalities that we have, this mutual friend being one. But we decided to engage in a further conversation on that topic, off of Facebook. But you led with that. So let's say that you were somebody that I was potentially into. Mm-hmm. Why would I want to get to know anybody that just led and told me that I was under the spell, and then went into further detail to explain the justification for why I'm under a spell? So now there's really no need for us to really even talk. Because I'm going to think now it's fair for me to use philosophy and reasoning to say that this man probably isn't attracted, or he doesn't prefer black women. Because who wants to be with somebody that's under a spell unless it's a love spell? But the spell you suggested didn't sound real favorable to me. So let's say that we start with that context, and that's a specific example because this is a direct conversation that you and I are having. If we lead with that, kind of cut off
let me tell you like this.
I'm not going to hook you up with nobody that's black because you think we under a spell.
Hold on. When it comes to black people and black issues, black women don't seem to be participating in resolving these issues. And number two, black women do everything to be more European than even black children. So you under a spell as far as the European lifestyle.
The black women that you have experiences with is what you mean.
That's basically every woman I see.
Right, because you don't wear dashikis. Why don't you? I ain't never seen you in that.
It ain't about wearing no dashiki. But I'm not trying to be European.
Oh, no, he does not. I just
you ain't got no pictures on with no dashikis. Right, and why you ain't? Your ears ain't pierced different.
Oh,
just like the black man from West Philly that you are.
That's right. But I'm not being. But here's the point y'all missing. I'm not trying to be white, though.
I say men are what their mothers make them. That's my belief. Men are what their mothers make them, for good or bad, for absent or present. Men are what their mothers make them. The issues or the non-issues or your viewpoints on black women are definitely shaped by your own experiences. Now, for me, when people talk about men being doggish, see, I don't have those experiences to the point that I'm willing to put all of black men in that category. Because I'll be honest with you, the men that I'm surrounded with, get up every day and go do exactly what they're supposed to in their communities and in their families. So the men that I'm surrounded with are good men, are hardworking men, are educated men. I don't know 10 men that are not taking care of their children. I don't know 5 men that are not taking care of their children. And guess what? I know a hell of a lot of men.
All right, but here's the situation.
So it's your experiences and who you're surrounded with, the women that you surround yourself with.
Hold on. Let's get some order and control on it. What I'm saying,
you got to pick your fruit from a high branch.
Whoa, stop. See, that's what I'm saying. I've been with a lot of different variety of women, And it's not just my experience. It's what I see. It's what I see. It's these girls online. It's these girls out in the street. Y'all, it's like,
we're not saying that they don't exist. What we're saying is that there's another group that also does exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we can name.
I could guarantee if I was with
don't
either
exist.
three of you, at the end of the day, y'all gonna do something to mess up, because that's just what y'all do, and you'll get away with that because the other dude that you're dealing with is most likely doing his thing, so he's not looking as close. He's not putting you under the microscope like I'm doing. See, I call women's bluff. Women talk. You understand? I understand. I'm hip. I know the game. Y'all get that with other dudes don't look as deep as me. See, I'm hip to your nonsense. And then when I bring it out to the world, y'all be like, what? All women don't do that. But y'all all do that. Y'all all do the same kind of things. It's in
What
it
is the
in women.
same kind of things you're talking about? Like, what
First
do
of
you
all,
mean?
y'all all wear hair weaves.
Qualified.
Y'all all wear hair weaves. Y'all all tatting your bodies up. You all got this sass that nobody's trying to hear. And nobody believes y'all are tough or nothing. Like, we just let you get away with it because we don't want to go to jail. It's like, oh, calm down.
But
Be
you
humble.
almost sound,
Be
but
real.
if these are really your thoughts, you almost sound misogynist. So, there's a thing with men who just hate women. And you almost come off as
I don't hate women at all.
almost come off as someone who's misogynist, because the other thing that we haven't really heard you do is uplift us. So I think several times on this podcast, all three of us have talked about the great qualities that we find in black men that we are associated with and that surround us. I haven't heard that from you.
All right, well, listen.
And that
You got Steve Harvey. You got Steve Harvey and all these other men that kiss your ass every morning. So,
checkmate.
And we don't. And you getting your ass kissed
That's not
is
what
not
I asked.
helping the
That's
situation.
not what I asked, Albert. I said that I have not heard you on this podcast have any upliftment for women of color. Everything that you have said thus far has been negative. So, as
I wouldn't say negative.
With you when they have to guard themselves against some of the attacks almost that you're making, it comes off as being misogynist.
Yes.
I'm just trying
True.
to. I'm just trying
what can
to
you
help.
say positive about the black woman?
Boom. Question.
Tell me how you feel.
Yo, y'all making me laugh. Believe me, listen. I'm gonna say this. No, it's nobody who loves the black woman more than me. I don't date out my race. I'm just disappointed in. To be honest, I'm disappointed in black women right now, and I want y'all to get back to the way y'all supposed to be. All this
You're
stuff.
disappointed in the black women who are always on the front lines marching, on the front lines trying to figure out why they're shooting you down in the street. You're disappointed with that group of black women.
Just be down for your man, like how y'all used to be. It's like now it's like y'all moving up.
You all, but I think black men have changed to a degree too. I mean, if we're gonna generalize, there are. I remember my grandfather before he pulled himself up in his bootstraps, not having much of anything. And he's working 2 jobs, it didn't matter what, to provide for his children, his family, let his wife stay home if she wanted to. Not because she had to, but she wanted to. And went through the military, everything. Started. My thing is, I don't see that same hustle a lot of the time. I don't see that same work ethic. I don't see that same commitment. A lot of the times, our brothers will walk away from their children, from their responsibility, and take an easier road. And so what can you speak to about that? Like, are you disappointed in your brothers as well?
Yeah.
Are you disappointed in our brothers as well?
Let me tell you something. A lot of brothers, unfortunately, get drafted into fatherhood way before they're ready. See, it's like
I disagree. They try out for the team.
Their responsibility.
You said that on another podcast, and one of my girlfriends highlighted that you said drafted. The thing is, these men aren't getting drafted. They go to the tryout, and then when they get chose for the team, then they want to quit.
Oh
So
no.
sex is mutual.
Let me
Sex
tell you
is mutual.
something,
The
Ruby.
draft is when you sitting
Hold
home
on.
and somebody run up on you. Sir, you got to come on. We ain't doing that.
Oh, all right.
They
Here's
coming in
here's
and
what I'm
saying,
saying.
"I
Here's what
wanna
I'm
see
saying.
you." And then
If
when
you
the
got
baby
pregnant right
comes,
now, if you got pregnant right now, right, you have the option to give your baby up for adoption. You can say, "Oh, I don't want it. I don't want it. I made a mistake. Give it up for adoption." However, you can say, "No, I'm keeping it," and he's going to pay for it, and there's nothing a man can do. He's stuck. You see,
Well,
that's
first
getting
of all, there is
drafted.
something that he
but
can do.
usually
He can
men like that,
yourself.
they have more than one child. Usually a man like that has more than one
And
child.
how does that
And
happen?
so after he started, he got drafted. He gonna get drafted again, quote unquote? No, he's trying out.
Well,
You gotta call it a spade, Albert. Some people know
And
damn
no.
well what they're
I'm not.
getting into.
Whoa. Let me be clear. I'm not saying all men who are deadbeat dads got drafted into fatherhood. Not all.
So what are you saying?
So
What
I'm
are you
saying some
saying?
women-
Your
some-
overall premise sounds like you are favoring men. You feel like men are getting a bad deal and women are to blame for it all. Instead of saying that both parties may have some part to play and some
Well,
responsibility to
because
take.
women
What's your
are
take
the
on that?
choosers.
Are you disappointed in men?
Some of them, yeah. I'm
not
definitely
like, no,
I'm
you
definitely
generalize
disappointed
to the
in men
window.
who are still watching football. I'm definitely disappointed in men who are still playing football. I'm disappointed in like a lot of black men who ain't standing up. And that comes back to our women not really respecting us like they should, because it's too many. And these men out here who get rewarded for their bad behavior, and women think they the it guys. You know what I'm saying? So when you
I
stay
just
humble
think
and when you
that
stay,
it
when you,
just has to be more accountability for everyone. And men and the men
I'm
that you are
yeah,
talking
no doubt.
about,
But I'm talking
men
about
who have to put
relationships,
them-
and in this relationship, right, that we're talking about, the onus is on the women at this juncture. The onus is on the women,
Do
because
what?
you can't get pregnant unless you choose a mate. You chose them, so you're choosing wrong. It's plenty of dudes like me out here, but see, then it's like you nah,
And that's
we
why
got the
that's why I
swag.
don't have children. And another question you posed that I did want to touch on, because I see we already getting to an hour and a half, is that I have never dated outside my race, but I'm open to it. You
See?
asked the question about dating outside of the race, and so I've never dated anybody except African American men. But I'm
But you're open to it.
not against.
Why?
Mhm.
Especially at these
I
days and times.
would.
Why would
I
you
feel
date
like,
outside your race?
how was the question really posed? It was posed some type of way. Hold on. What was the question? Because how it was posed, I was thinking about that. Like, how do I feel about that? And I really do feel, I wish that it did not matter as much to me. It matters more to me than I feel like it should to date a black man. Because I do feel a greater connection, and I mean that's so ingrained and so a part of my head, in my thoughts, in terms of
But I don't think we need to apologize for that. I don't think that we need to apologize for black love being the first love that we want and maybe the only love that we want. And I will say this. I think that because of our unique history, because of the 400 to 500 years of dysfunction in our family units, we feel as if we don't have the right to say the only man that I want to love is a black man. The only woman that I want to love is a black woman. But other races do it all the time. They do it all the time because they say, I revere this Asian woman, and she is the only woman for me. I revere this Hispanic woman, and there's no one that can bring to me and to my heart and to my soul what a Hispanic woman can bring, and there's no apologies for that. But when it comes to black love, we think we have to apologize for what is good and what speaks to our hearts and our souls. And I just don't believe we have to do that. So for me, there is no one else except for a black man. That's it. Period. Point blank.
I think, and I agree with that. I think the
good.
sadness in it, though, in realizing that that's what you want, sometimes the sadness comes from knowing that the state of affairs for the black man is not necessarily where we want it to be. When you look at the crime, when you look at how many incarcerated, when you look at how many homosexual, when you look at all of these different things, the baggage that come along with that from them suppressing a lot of things from being, not having fathers or mothers, treating them like they're their husbands, and just so much stuff that we've endured as just as a people, to know that it does make it a little challenging sometimes when you're trying to pool and look and see, okay, where are the qualified candidates, so to speak. It's kind of, you would like to think that you have an option to look at other races and people across the spectrum, when really in your heart, so that's what I'm saying. It bothers me to a degree that is really what sometimes it does. Sometimes when I think about that, it's like, wow, could you date somebody outside? I would have to fall in love. Like, it would have to be love. Like, I'm not seeking a white man or an Italian man or an Asian man. Like, it would have to truly just be like an encounter. And I fell in love and nothing else, because I don't know that any other race could really connect and identify with me the same way a brother could.
That's right.
But
when
that's sad too.
When I speak to my son, I speak to him about the importance of the love from a black woman. Now, he may end up not being with one, but it won't be because I haven't spoke about what it is to be understood at the end of the day. There is no one else on this planet that understands what it is like for a black man besides himself than a black man. There is no one else that understands how you have to maneuver in this universe in order to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Okay. So if all you women agree, right, then why is it so many why aren't enough black people getting married to one another? Because y'all sound like y'all perfect little angels, right? And y'all get into relationships and y'all hold men down. That's what it sounds like. Until somebody gets into a relationship with y'all, then that's when all the BS come out. Now I'm trying to get y'all to admit that y'all have BS. And tell the fellas what it is, and then work on it, and we can get past it.
Why do you want us to admit that?
Because
that sounds so funny.
It does. It does.
No, but on some real shit though, we have to find love in our community, and I agree. I think the reason why I seem like I'm so hard on black women is because I'm disappointed. The reason why I'm disappointed is because I'm in love with the black woman so much. I see the decisions that she's making is affecting the whole community. From the dude she chooses to be with.
Start with your daughter. That's one of the solutions. All black men, start with your daughter.
That's good right there, Cee Jay.
Yeah,
that's good right.
I definitely do. Like, but then her mother, sometimes her mother interferes. Or my aunt. Listen, I told my niece one time, right? I said to her, listen, because she about that age where she might start dating, and I said, look, you find a man that you can follow. And my mom and my sisters and my aunts, oh no, you ain't following no man. No. I'm saying like this. If you choose a man and you can follow him, like that's your leader, then you probably chose a right guy. But if you feel like you always got to baby him and you got to lead him, then maybe that's not the guy for you. Maybe that's not the guy you want to let impregnate you. Okay? You can have fun with them type of dudes, but you can't get pregnant by them.
I agree with that.
I agree with that too. But the bottom line is, we want to talk about how the black love is this cycle type of issue that we are dealing with. It does have to go back to also role modeling what black love should look like. And until black men become extremely active in their role as fathers to their daughters, you're going to continue to have these issues, because you want a woman to grow up without that type of discipline, because I really do believe that's the part that the man plays. Now, mom's going to nurture, and she's going to nurture her daughter and give her the qualities that a woman should have. But the discipline side from the father to say, you are good enough just like you are.
You are good enough. Yes.
You're beautiful enough just like you are, with your wide nose and big lips and strong, kinky hair.
Yo,
Black men are not affirming their daughters.
All right,
You're
but
not
see,
affirming their
but
daughters.
then you gotta factor out. Hold on, you gotta factor in.
But your preference will be for a fair skinned woman.
Hold on. Stop. You jumping off the cliff right now. The first of all,
that's not off the cliff. I'm telling you, if you want for things to improve, start in your households with your own daughter.
That's what I'm trying to do. But see, society has more of a grip on, like, for girls. Now I'm only going by what I see when I'm saying this statement. It seems like girls are more likely to take to the nonsense. That's why I said, going back to what Ruby said, that I said about women being under a spell. It's like women seem to gravitate to the images that are put out there for us. Like the music they listen to is nonsense, and how they dress is too provocative, and their hairstyles are whack, and they writing and drawing all over their bodies. And they doing all of this, based off the characters they see on TV. Why are you writing on yourself?
I agree with you 100%. Instead of what they see role model in their home.
Exactly. But see, it goes back to their mother, because their mother.
What are the young men doing? What are the young men doing?
Oh, listen, the young men are
the same thing.
In this scenario,
gravitating to the images that they see.
Oh, whoa, wait a second. In this scenario, we can't talk about the young men, because the young men will ultimately do what the young women force them to do, just like we did, and just like back in the day. Women have the control over the community, not the men. This is a driving Miss Daisy scenario. And when y'all misbehave, everybody else is going to misbehave. So what I'm trying to do,
I think it's a Arrested in Development scenario, but go ahead.
Well,
I think that's
what you
men
mean
that
by
are
that?
arrested in their development.
Men
that are arrested in their development don't go beyond the boy stage. The boy stage is this. There are cookies on the counter. You're not supposed to have those cookies, but you're going to do everything you can to get them anyway, because you don't understand the idea of weight. You only understand self-gratification.
Right.
And boys behave that way. It's a behavior of impulsivity.
Right.
But when
you
are a man and you're not arrested in your development, you have something called self-talk. Self-talk teaches you to reflect on things and to maneuver through situations, whether they're going to be good for you or bad for you. And you're not cowardly making decisions. You're not manipulating women to make decisions. You're standing in your truth. You can't have it both ways.
All right.
If
what I'm saying to you,
then lead us.
All right. What I'm saying to you is this.
Don't allow the behavior that you're saying is in black women, and you don't allow it by being present in the lives of your daughters.
Okay. But see, here's
the thing.
It's
important to highlight that everybody's not going to have the same reality. Cardi B, who, has, of course, the most popular song this summer, she did a video, and she said, you know what bothers me? She said, it bothers me when so many people come to me and they ask me, like, why I'm not a better role model and why I won't, and to be a role model. She basically said that she didn't sign up to be a role model. She said a lot of times these mothers need to be better role models for their children. She said when she was growing up, she didn't want to be like anybody except for her mother. She said, so all y'all bitches, I think she was frustrated possibly because, to whom much is given, much is expected. I mean, a lot of times you have individuals with talent and they find themselves in positions that they didn't necessarily want to be in. And being a role model comes with that. I mean, that's why I have the name that I have as far as Ruby versus, what my government name is. Because what we all know is that we live in a world where people are very judgmental. And they're judgmental of other people before they're judgmental of themselves. And I think that a part of it is relevant is the stage of development that an individual is in. And so you're going to have girls at some age where their teenage girlfriends or their younger friends are going to be influential. However, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. When I was 15 years old, my mother allowed me to dress up in her outfit because I've probably been 5'9" since 6th grade. She allowed me to put on her suit from work, go to this tattoo parlor, use her ID. She gave me a script on how to do it. She said, well, when you just go in there, you just talk real fast because I wanted to get my eyebrows pierced. Now, 15, but I was in the 10th grade, I think, going to the 11th or something like that. I had great grades, you know. It's my mother. She had me when she was 21. I got this done in Baltimore because that's where she's always resided. When I went back to North Carolina, my grandmother saw that. The first thing my grandfather said, what is that thing in your head? That is what they said. Now, to them, it was just disgusting that I had this in my eyebrow. I mean, looking back, I probably wouldn't do that now. But, I mean, evolution is very relevant. And sometimes I would prefer that people make the mistakes or that they do those, quote-unquote, age-appropriate things because they're able to learn from them, and it can make for a better individual. Like, nobody's upbringing is going to be perfect, and everybody's going to go through this stage, like they said, where they're making mistakes and they're listening to this person over that person. But I do believe that if a family is invested in the individual, 9 times out of 10, the person is always going to come back to that because they realize the benefits of coming back to that. Now, some people are going to fall by the wayside, and I think that we have to accept that. You know what I'm saying? If people are going to fall by the wayside, some women are going to be hoes. Like, that's what some black women are going to be hoes. They are going to have Little Kim said, bitches suck cock just to get to the top. Now, that's a rap lyric. Okay, and that's what happens, and this has been going on since the beginning of time. So instead of necessarily trying to antagonize women that do that, it's just like, you know, as long as you're making a conscious decision, just know the consequences that could come with that kind of behavior. And I think that when everybody operates in that, you know, that brings for a better reality for all people. So I think that, you know, like I wear sew-ins. I don't always wear, you know, my natural hair. I wore a natural curly ponytail out for the first time the other day.
Can I ask you a question? You know, hold on. Let me interrupt. Yeah. Now, when you talk about your sew-ins, do you realize there's a black girl, a black little girl looking at you like, oh, I want my hair to look like hers? It's like it's a ripple effect. Now, you are glorifying straight hair when you sew in another woman's hair in your head. And it's like black women definitely need to cut that out because that's a bad influence. And it's perpetuating white supremacy. Like, you know, straight hair is better than pink hair.
Again, Albert, though. Right, and I don't either. But again, nobody's perfect. And so if we have to look at Ashley as a whole person.
We talking about shit you can change, though.
Yes, she got her sewing, but she's about to be a part of the 5% of African Americans that are clinical psychologists. She's also about to develop this scholarship for the university that she's at. So if she want to wear straight European hair or whatever Brazilian while she's doing that and impacting the community, so be it. I mean, sometimes, like I said, you got to take the good with the bad. I mean, some people out here with high blood pressure, but they think just because they volunteering, you know what I'm saying? Like, which one are we going to highlight?
We're talking about images.
Let me close with this.
We're talking about images.
Let me close with this. When we treat people, we look at how debilitating it is to their functioning. Now, let's say that I was missing work because I couldn't get this sewing put in, or I was forsaking the assembly, or I couldn't make it home for the holidays, or there's so many things that are being affected by me needing to get this European hair in. Then I would have the conversation. But so long as I'm getting up for work, I'm working out at the gym, I'm going to volunteer, I'm serving, I'm spending time on these podcasts, and I'm uplifting other people, then we'll talk about that sewing later.
Yeah, because I mean, literally, that's not the gravest issue that we have facing and plaguing the black community.
I didn't say it was. I'm just saying it's a part of the image.
Hair, I mean, because I'll go from pinky to curly to weave to braids, and I think, if anything, it should teach a young girl that you have the freedom to wear your hair however you like to wear it. Okay.
And if we want to talk about white supremacy, I think the greatest representation of white supremacy, again, goes back to black men allowing a white court to tell him how to take care of his children.
What we supposed to do? How you going to say that? What we supposed to do?
Let me explain something to you. White supremacy is about power, and it is about economic power, and it is about emotional power. It is about intimidation. So let's not worry about weaves because when I'm wearing a weave, I'm definitely not asserting any power. The only thing I'm doing is expressing the need to not have to do certain things to my hair, for good or bad or indifferent. And I don't care if everybody doesn't agree with that. I'm okay with that. But it certainly is not a link to white supremacy. Now, I would even allow you to say that it may be associated with being self-conscious. I will give you that, but not white supremacy. White supremacy is when you are allowing a system to control you. So when black men have to stand in front of a judge, and that judge has to tell you to pay this woman X amount of money to take care of your seed, that's white supremacy.
Yeah, but it's all part of white supremacy. It's all inclusive. It's all part of it. Now I just took that the hair weaves and attached just to show the imagery that goes on. That this is something that most black women do for no reason though. So it goes back to what I said. Black women are under a spell.
Well, I'm really the only one in my group. I'm probably the only one in my group right now that might be wearing a weave because most of my girlfriends have decided to go natural.
And good, and that's good because you gotta promote that positive image.
Right, but then again, that they might be, and I've decided to go natural with my fingernails. So I'm not going to wear fake fingernails anymore.
Great.
I've decided not to eat beef anymore because it's not good for me.
Again, great.
So the sister with the natural hair may still want acrylic nails. The sister with the natural hair may have other things that she has to work on. And it's okay. That's okay. Mm-hmm. Those are not deal breakers in our community. What's deal breakers is the fact that we are not committed to raising our children. That's the deal breaker.
Yes. And so the woman who puts some weave in her hair is the problem. But then the woman who's altering her body for the attractive man and adding all this stuff here extra and all this, that's not a problem because
who said
pleasing
that?
the man.
Who said that? That's a problem too.
I'm asking. I'm making a statement but posing a question at the same time.
Okay,
do you find that's what is the issue with that? Like, do you feel like black women should not be doing that as well?
No, black women shouldn't be. Or is it a
double standard?
Black women shouldn't be augmenting their bodies in any way unless it is medically necessary. And if you're going, let's say your hair is what people are attracted to. It's like, first, I'm not even really, I don't really like that women lay their hair down, even if it's natural. It should be kinky. It should be nappy. It should be out like an afro. That's where women should be with it, right? Well, why black women not proud of that? No, I'm just saying that's how it should be, period. Women should just say, no, this is how my hair comes in. This is what God gave me, and I'm proud of it. That's it. Just like men do. You know, back in the 40s, men was conking their hair. We was caught up we was under that spell, but then we had a racial awakening, and then that stopped. I wonder what's it going to take for black women to join the team.
But men do other things. Men, if they want to grow locks, they grow locks. If they want to grow it out long and twisted, they twist it.
The texture of the hair is natural.
If they want to put dye in it, they put dye in it.
But
if
the
they
texture.
want to go to Bosley's and get hair implants, they get hair implants. If they want to add to their beards, they add to their beard.
I'm talking about the texture
and
of
you know
the
what?
hair.
A man can do all of that, and as long as he's taking care of his children and he is working in his community and doing what he is supposed to do, in the name of being a good black man, I don't have any issues with it.
Okay.
That's true.
Now, when you brought up family court,
get to the heart of it.
Hold on. When you brought up family court, you said that we let the white man tell us what to do. First of all, we wouldn't be in family court if not for a black woman. We wouldn't be there if it wasn't for her.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like, why are you taking me to court?
Accountability.
What you mean?
No one has to take you can't. Court if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Come on, stop.
As the head
every man that's in family court wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing? That's what you believe?
Explain your position.
The same way that you have made generalizations, I threw a generalization back to you.
That's not, no, because you're incorrect. That's not, I say there's a small percentage of deadbeat dads. Very, very small percentage. Y'all just going
No,
again.
it's not.
It is.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Where you
Do you
getting that
know
from?
that
Where
black
those
women?
two
Do you
come
know
from?
that we are the subgroup that is least likely to marry? We
That's,
are the
and that's what I'm
greatest
talking
subgroup
about. And
that
that's your
have-
fault.
that are unwed with children, with fathers not being in the home.
Right. That's your fault, though. That's not the man's fault. That's the all right. Let me put it to you this way. It's a group of bad men over there, right? And it's a group of good men. Y'all choose the bad men to procreate with. It's clear as day who's the bad guy. It's clear as day. Now, how many women in family court do you think got gamed up and then some dude came in her and then she pregnant and then he left her? How many cases do you think? Not many.
Plenty of them, like the
No,
ones. Plenty of them, like the ones that you described earlier, that have to trick women and lie to them about what they're going to be.
As
in order
far
to
as
get
getting
women.
sex,
I
but
think-
not as
I
far as
think
being a
those
father.
type of men are in court. Those are the men that are in. Those are the men that are in court.
I
The
disagree.
same ones that are trying to manipulate. They manipulate themselves right into the court system.
I disagree. That's just, you know what I mean? That it's just one of them things where, again, let me go back to the point. Why are women taking men to family court in the very first place? You decided to have this baby. You did. Okay?
But see, this is the thing. If we could go,
Confused.
there are some facts, and everybody. I think that it's the dialectic. Like that's my new favorite word on this podcast because there's so many different perspectives. And from a philosophical standpoint, the dialectic just means taking points from both perspectives and coming up with So let's make a list. Because usually there's a criteria for any and everything. And so, like, if everybody's point that they've made as far as reasons that individuals end up in court are valid. Now, let's not take away from the conversation about adding, necessarily percentages because we don't have that data and it's just opinion based and it'll send us in circles. But one thing that I wanted to add, that somebody mentioned to me from a previous podcast that we did in regards to the disconnect, because, we're talking about relationships and a lot of things impact relationships. There's a lot of variables. Now, I think that once we get past the point that, and it's levels to everything, it's things that separate us more than just being a black man and a black woman. Okay, so you're going to meet individuals that they're the opposite sex that you're attracted to, but that does not necessarily mean that that's the person that you're going to be with and build with. Like Albert said, maybe they can get a date. Anybody can get a date.
Right.
Perspective, we just have to accept that. Now, depending on how these two individuals choose to raise their children and start their families and all those kind of things, those are where we're going to weigh things out. But we have to realize that we're human, we're flawed. We do all of these things that, create these flaws. And so the good with the bad, when you put salt on the food, you could get high blood pressure, you could get that. And so it's like, things. What we want to do is we want to take every day to try to self-examine if we're doing the best that we can and if we're preparing ourselves to help somebody else. Now, I think, because I know we're getting close to the time, just to kind of dating, and what I notice when it comes to dating is that in the sense of, I feel like that they just now got to the point to where they wanted to start making decent decisions. The development stages went a little bit different. And so now, while we all do have baggage, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have some things that I've done and some things that I'm not proud of, and, like some realities about me that definitely qualify as baggage. However, what I've realized that I have a carry-on. Okay? And a lot of the men that I meet, compared to my carry-on, they have a bag they got to check. Not necessarily at the point or the age to where I'm like, okay, I got to settle for somebody that is having a check bag. Now, what settle means is to me, because, at the end of the day, everyone settles or makes the decision, to say, what I'm saying is I'm not to the point to where I'm going to settle and say that I'm going to change what I want for necessarily securing companionship. That probably will come. because companionship will become more important than, you know what I'm saying, maybe some other things that I'm coupling now with companionship, because I want the possibility or the option of having a child. But Albert, you're absolutely right when you say about the pickings and stuff. That's why I don't have any children, because I haven't met a man that I wanted to have that long-term relationship with, where we can build children, where we can, build and have kids and do all of these things. And so at 32, I'm just at a point now where I value what I value, and I'm hoping to find an individual with that same value system who hasn't made so many mistakes in the past that that's how he arrived at that value system. I arrived at my value system because I trusted what my family said, and they'll tell you to this day, I was like a train on the tracks. They put me on that track, and I've been choo-chooing ever since. Now, did I burn some oil and get off track? All of those things are very true about me. I'm flawed. However, it's like I just stayed the course because I felt like I was preparing myself for somebody that would want to say, I want to be with her for the rest of my life. And I bet guys like that, but they just had, like I said, they had that 30-pound luggage. You got to pay an extra $100, depending on how much overweight you go. So it's like, come on, then, like, I'm not there yet. Maybe when I turn 35 in the next 3 years, if we still doing these podcasts, then I might be,
No, you can't. You still can't have no 30-pound luggage. You ain't leaving that.
All right, yo, we on like 2 hours, so I gotta definitely wrap this up. But it was great having you ladies on, and
it was great.
Yeah, next week I'm gonna have an all male podcast. I want y'all to listen, so y'all can have a better understanding.
I sure am.
Yo,
I cannot wait to listen. I'm gonna be talking to myself in the house, listening, fussing, I'm sure.
Are you gonna have all perspectives? Like you'll have maybe you're gonna have married men, single men, all kinds.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Please do. Please do. And don't have all Pan-Africans.
Oh God, what's wrong with that?
Right. I need a Christian man on the panel.
No, you know what? I dated a Christian one time.
Faithful man.
I dated a Christian woman one time. You know what I told her? I said, you gotta choose. It's either me or Jesus. You can't serve two masters.
Oh my God! You out of order.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah. On that note, good night.
All right.
Bye,
good night,
Lacey.
y'all.
Thank you for having us on.
All right, no problem.
Have a good one.
All right, bye-bye.
Good night.
Ooh, baby.